Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's time for another light novel review. Welcome once again, guys. This is actually the first light novel that I'm reviewing from JY, which is a new division of Yen Press. I'm gonna assume it stands for Youth Yen, but I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if that is what it stands for, but it's definitely a new Yen Press subsection that essentially is releasing light novel series for younger groups. So I would say still probably around the pre-teens, 12, 11 and up. Age is not really younger than that, at least not for this one. But I think personally it is a great way to bring more light novels and more of the Japanese culture here to the Western side. So if you haven't checked out JY or Yen Press, give them some love at yenpress.com. You guys can find their new division there and all the other umbrella companies they have. Yenon and J Novel Club and Easy Press, so that they have quite a bit of stuff in there. So go check them out, give them some love. Again, this new division, this is the first video that I make for them when it comes to this division, so I'm actually kind of excited to do this. So also, before anything else, if you're watching up to this point, subscribe to my channel, give some love by commenting, liking and sharing, and let's continue with this review. Now, interestingly enough, I wanted to know more about it before it arrived, and I looked up some reviews on it, and the reviews weren't really good reviews, online at least. A lot of people, specifically in Goodreads.com, put a lot of low ratings, like 1 star, 2 stars, to this book in particular, and I think initially there was just a huge misunderstanding. Some were saying, well, I thought it was going to be a manga for kids and I bought it and it was not a manga, right? I guess there's that confusion of what a manga and a light novel is. A light novel, it's like a book, guys. There is pictures and this one actually has quite a bit of illustrations. Like, it has pages where it's a half-page illustration. So there's quite a bit of them where, you know, part of the page is illustration and the rest is words. Very similar, like a middle school level book here in the US, which is what this company is for. And I think a lot of people didn't realize that coming in, especially with the name Horror Collector. A lot of people were thinking it was going to be or actually the second misconception of it was that it was going to be a more youthful when it comes to like teenager or older horror, and it's not. It's targeting middle school age, and that's what it is for. So when I went into reading it, that's the mindset that I placed myself. Go back to those years in middle school, you're reading chapter books, so on and so forth. It's an easy read for an adult, to be honest. The way the pages are built, there's a lot of gap in the header and the bottom, so it's an easy read. You can go through these pretty easily. Almost every chapter can be its own story. And there is, how many chapters there is? Six chapters in the entire book. I've read 4 of them. I actually skipped 2, just from what I was reading. You can do that, and yeah, pretty much. I skipped 1 chapter at first, and I was like, let's see if it ruins the story. It doesn't ruin the story much. There is the thing that connects all these stories is this kid that shows up, this faceless kid that shows up, and his name is Fushigi, and that is what connects all these stories. But all the stories themselves have its own thing. Like the bizarre cat has like this weird cat that we pick up, it elongates. The love spells, I believe that was the emo one, and then I think there's a consensus online, and I fully agreed. The two best stories from this book is the second one, which is The Truth of the Red Crayon. Actually, the top three are these: The Truth of the Red Crayon, which this one I haven't finished. This is actually one that I first skipped. I've gone back to it. I'm almost done with it. That one actually moves a lot faster than the next one, which is the Sugisawa Village. This is like a village that it's known that if you find it, you will never return, and there's that whole mystery to this unknown village, but also known village. And then there's little Nanoka, which I think most people talk about this one in the reviews. I remember a lot of people actually mentioning it, and that is because it resembles so much of the Slender Man story that we have here in the US that I think a lot of people can connect to it American wise. So the overall consensus, in my opinion, is it takes folklore and it takes the type of horror and mentality that gets Japanese in fear into play here, for the exception of the last one where it's more Americanized or Americanized inspired, and that may be off-putting for some kids or some adults, not because it's not interesting, it's just not culturally something that we are raised being scared of or stuff like that, right? So it does use a lot of the unknown to it. There is a lot of slowness to some stories, and a lot of we know what's gonna happen, because as an adult and as a horror fan myself, there's so much context clues in these books, which is what they're made for, that it kind of ruins the story at the end, to be honest. But again, I went into it knowing what the company is, and I think a lot of online people up to this point don't realize what this company is for, and that is Yen Press has decided to release a company that is targeting younger kids with content that is for younger kids with that in mind. A lot of these stories, if they were made for adults, there would be more gore, there would be less of the comedy fillers, and there would be maybe some nudity, maybe some sexual contents, stuff like that, which this one doesn't have, and more drug or stuff like that usage, more, I guess, real world context, and it doesn't have that, because again, targeted for middle schoolers. So keeping that in mind, I'm actually going to give this one a 8 out of 10. That's a very high rating, but I think for it being the first book of the company that is coming out, I personally think it's actually a really good start to this company. I don't think it's the very, very first one they released. I know there's more. Trying to see if I have the other one. Here's the other one. Phantom Thief Red is another one that they released. I haven't read this one yet, but they're releasing more. So I don't know if this is the very, very first one of the company, but it is one of the first ones. And I think it's a great start. I think it's a great addition. And to be honest, this kind of puts their foot into the classrooms, because I, as a teacher, I like to talk to kids hey, I watch anime, I read manga, and a lot of these kids say, well, our libraries don't have this because of so-and-so content, and having more books like this that fit the curriculums that we run here in school is actually kind of awesome as well. So yeah, 8 out of 10. I give it a try. Just know that it's not intended for adults, it's intended for middle schoolers, and that's what it is for. So go check it out, give it some love, give Yen Press some love, and give my channel some love by commenting, liking, and sharing. And you guys can also subscribe, especially if you're watching up to this point. Thank you again for your love and support, and guys, like always, don't be strangers. See you guys.